And I know Arsenal they didn't have a perfect squad to pick from, but they didn't have as many problems as Liverpool, and yet once again Arteta finds himself with probably more questions than he's got answers.
And this is it, Kieran, isn't it? Like, you don't remember Alisson pulling off any spectacular saves, obviously hitting the woodwork, but overall it's just that penetration or that lack of quality in the final third that's becoming a bit of a worrying theme.
Yeah. Today was the issues were in the final third. You could clearly see they didn't have as many high quality chances, and I don't think they have this season as much as they did last season. And so, this is the questions that he needs to figure out. And the thing is, it's no good just going into the market and just trying to buy anything and panic buying. You have to go and get the right player that's going to fit this team. It's a unique team. And so, but listen, both teams were poor in the final third today, and it took a set piece, a great set piece from Trent to break the deadlock. But I mean, listen, Arsenal, they're in a bit of a hole at the moment, but it's not the end of the world. This result isn't going to determine their season. They're still in the race for the Premier League, and they're still in the Champions League. So it's not happy times at the moment at the club, but there's still a lot to be positive about.
Meanwhile, obviously, we'll find those positives at some stage. But Stevie from Liverpool, what a bonus this is.
Yeah, I mean, for 70 minutes, they almost looked as though they came for a draw because there was no real ambition or drive or bite or anything. And the substitutions really was the change, particularly Jota, who hit the crossbar with a header, but generally just sort of got the team going. And probably the last 20 minutes, they were the better side, and they ended up scoring 2 goals. So, for 70 minutes, not a lot to talk about, quite frankly, but last 20, absolutely.
Celebrations all around then for Liverpool, a game which has left us with more questions about Arsenal and the direction in which they're going. Liverpool then through to the draw tomorrow. Arsenal out. Craig, how big a deal is this from an Arsenal perspective?
Well, I think it is, and I don't think it's just the fact that they're not going to be contesting the FA Cup. I think it's a broader and a bigger picture. Is they're already 5 points off Liverpool at the top. We have Man City, second half of the season, traditionally come strong. De Bruyne is back, Foden's in great form. They're not going away. And Arsenal are the team that I think he's actually scratching his head. I think in the last 18 months, maybe give or take 1, maybe 2 players, we all knew what that team was going to be. I don't think if he sits down now and writes what's going to get me a result on paper, I think he could change it several times. I think he's now searching. And just as worrying as the goals, that rock-solid defence has stopped keeping clean sheets. It's starting to leak some goals now as well. We've discussed the goalkeeper situation at length. And don't forget, in this game, Liverpool got two goals. But Ramsdale arguably made it the best save of the game as well, from Diaz.
It's interesting, Kieran, and as much as you want to put a positive spin on it, the facts are that Arsenal are in a rut at the moment, in front of goal and conceding goals as well. How easy is it for them to turn this around?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you look at the last 6 results, of course, it doesn't paint a great picture. But when you actually zoom out, over the last probably 5-6 years and how far the club has come in a short space of time, But
you're an Arsenal supporter and you're sat there saying, right, we need to be going toe-to-toe with City, with Liverpool in this Premier League battle. We need to be winning these games in the FA Cup. You're just giving, as Craig said, City haven't had a good run. Start of the season, but you've just opened the door to them with Kevin De Bruyne coming back, Erling Haaland back from injury as well. And that has got to be the concern from Arsenal, because there's more questions about them than any other team now in the title race.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're in the title race, though, you said it, right? They're in the title race.
But you're in it, but you're just letting others...
It's important to remember, because for the last 5-6 years...
Yeah, but we're not talking about the last 18 months. We're talking about the fact that Arteta spent a lot of money in the summer to make them, to push them over the line from where they failed last season, yet you could argue that they've regressed.
Oh, in the last month, of course, but over the broad scale of, 12, 18 months... The club has completely reformed. Completely reformed. Do you want to agree with that?
No, I completely agree with that, but you can only be judged
that's not a point,
on what
it?
you've done over the last couple of months. You've raised the bar high, no doubt about it. Arsenal won a lot of people's love because of the football they played last season. They came second. Did they bottle it? No, it wasn't. It was just a case they got injuries at the wrong time. Now, you've been backed as a manager. You've been given a lot of money in the summer. You spent wisely on Rice, maybe not with Havertz. And now it's about putting the performances on the pitch. Yeah. And if you don't, we've got every right to sit here and ask why not.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And the thing is, you have to ask yourself, what would you rather when you're in those cycles? Would you rather be a Chelsea right now, or would you rather be a United? I think I would pretty much prefer the foundations that Arsenal have built in the last 18 months over any of those other clubs. So actually, to be honest, when I look at it, I don't panic too much over the next 3-4 years with Arsenal at all. I think they've got a clear identity. They know how they play. They have a young team, a very exciting team. And yeah, I wouldn't even change too much if I was Arsenal. They need very slight changes. Mikel needs to obviously, go back to the drawing board and have a look at what's gone on in the last month. But to be honest, I think we like to jump on Arsenal in particular when
no, I don't think, no, that's not fair. We've jumped on United, we jumped on Chelsea, we jumped on
Listen, you can't be in a title. You can't be winning the league at the top for as long as they were last year, playing the way they were with all these super talented players. Nobody blamed them for losing the league, right? Maybe a few Arsenal fans, I don't know, right? City were just better. But then, once you've built this and you have what you want, and then you go out and the club back you, right? I'm sure there were people inside Arsenal were going, Declan Rice, fine, terrific player, terrific. Urian Timber, that's unfortunate, he's out. But I'm sure there's a few people at the club, and I don't want to keep going on about Kai Havertz, but it's a bit like Mason Mount at Man United to an extent. People are going, what was the big need? And I think once you make these decisions as a manager, as a club, and you're having these type of performances, people are going to question you. Look, Arsenal Football Club, and you well know better than me, but all these elite clubs, it is not good enough to be second or third. Really, it is not. Liverpool are not trying to achieve that, and Arsenal shouldn't be either. So there is going to be a pressure that comes his way. He's going to have to figure out if he's got the nous to turn this around.
The goal for the manager is not to have a great base to look at for the next 3 or 4 years. The point of the manager is to win games. And right now, as Craig said, I don't think he knows the best side that's going to go and win games on a regular basis. And the longer they go through this dry spell, the further away from the top of the league they'll get. I mean, yes, you can argue right now they are part of a title race, but if they keep performing like this, they're going to slide out it. They're going to slide out it because Manchester City ain't going to be dropping 9 and 10 points between now and the end of the season, and I don't think Liverpool will. So if Arsenal don't get sorted, particularly in the front end of the field, yes, they're not been as good defensively, but my goodness, going forward, they don't look like scoring. I mean, the possession they had for 70 minutes against this Liverpool side today, and they never one shot that Alisson had to save from White. That's not good. It's not good enough. And having 1 win in 7 with the Premier League the way it is, you can't afford to drop more points. Otherwise, you will be out the title race.
How do you address this tactically for Arteta?
I don't think it's to do with tactics. I think it's to do with getting the right players in the right positions. Havertz to me has upset the apple cart, right. No question, in the middle of the park. And then you try and play him up front as well, and it doesn't work. Now you've got your young guy in Nketiah who's going to be second guessing himself. Your other striker's injured. I mean, there's not a straightforward fix other than try things. And trying Reece Nelson today didn't work. Mm-hmm. Martinelli did more when he came on in the short space of time than Nelson did. So you've got to figure a way out of getting Odegaard, Saka, and particularly Martinelli, those three in form.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
That's the key.
They're all out of form at the wrong time because they're all out of form together.
And I think every facet of the Arsenal team at the moment is not operating to the level that it was. It's not just the front. It's what's the balance in the middle of the park. What's the best three ball in there? You know, who's the best to play the right back and the left back? And Zinchenko had a little bit of criticism in the last few weeks. I really believe a lot of this stems from some of the decisions and rhetoric that Mikel Arteta made months ago. Talking about subbing goalkeepers during games, making the change with Ramsdale and Raya, not suggesting this is totally the reason why they're in this little bit of a slump, but I think these are decisions that make players talk in the dressing room.
Just kind of add up. There's little bits that just add up.
You know, when you're in the dressing room and you've had Ramsdale playing as well as he did for that period of time in goals, and he was good.
Yep.
And he wasn't without mistakes, but he was good, right? You have players going, well, I'm not quite sure about that decision. Why are we doing that? And then you sign Kai Havertz and players try and integrate him in, as you do. You try and get him in the squad and you try and help. But it was crystal clear this experiment of playing him in midfield wasn't working, and that was backed up by the fact that he dropped him. Mm-hmm. But again, it gets players talking. And so these little things just gather some moss. And it's all down to, I think, decisions that Mikel Arteta has made that he really didn't have to. And now he's going to have to backtrack and find a way to get himself out of it. Because I say, City are not going to go away. Liverpool, when these players come back, are strong. Even Aston Villa. And Tottenham a point behind Arsenal in the league. And Arsenal are the side we're talking about out of all these teams at the moment. How are they going to turn this around? I'm sure they will in some sense, but it's just whether they can turn it around enough to get enough momentum and head of steam to really have a go at this title again.
Meanwhile, for Liverpool, this is a nice dream scenario, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You don't put in your best performance, you still get away with a 2-0 win, move on.
Yeah, they've kind of limped through the game as well with the injuries, and they'll be pleased with that. They don't have to have a replay as well with the Carabao Cup semi-final coming up. So it's happy days for them right now. I don't think anyone expected Liverpool to have the season that they're having. They've had a complete overhaul, but they've recruited really well, especially in the middle of the park. I think that they're just like their overall team's IQ has just gone. I love Endo. I think he's brilliant. And then the players that stepped in today, you know, they weren't the best, but they've got the job done. And you know, Klopp has got the know-how and the tactical nous to get one over.
And you'll be hoping that Jota can put in 90 minutes, Stevie, during these periods where obviously Salah's away, because we just saw him, we mentioned it a lot, he was the difference really when he came on.
Absolutely. I guess the key, it kind of feels like since he came to Liverpool, the key is for him to stay fit for a real long period of time. Because every time he steps on the field, he's a handful, he creates chances for himself and for others, and he scores goals.